Glad that you're all here. About to talk playoff runs, Aqib Talib, draft talk, penners by some Rockies. What a week. What a week. But stay around. We're going to talk Colorado sports in about 1 minute.
Yo, welcome to the show. Let me set the scene. Mile High Sports Symposium, living the dream. Broncos in the house with that orange and blue. Nuggets making moves, watch that altitude crew. Avalanche bringing ice, check the skills they display. Rocky swinging bats, ready for game day. Rapids in the mix, kicking it with style. Buffs bring the heat, put the rivals on trial. Out talking JJT, they got the scoop. Mile High vibes, feel that energy rise. Sports on the menu, watch the crowd mesmerize. From football to hockey, we're taking it higher. Join the celebration, feel that sports desire.
And we're back. I was robbed of the intro music because my browser did not want to play whatever. That's whack. But welcome to the Mile High Sports Symposium, your favorite podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Chris Whitwright, Hard H. Whitwright. You can find him at MHSS_Whit. I may or may not have a Twitter account still. Some turd took it. So if someone's reaching out about Bitcoin, ain't me. I can't even spell Bitcoin, let alone use Bitcoin. So I would advise to not interact with that until I reclaim what's rightfully mine. I've hired a couple hackers to help me try and get my stuff back. But I asked my friend Kyle to see if he can help me get back in. If any of you know, if any of you got a line on someone that knows how to mess around with the old Twitter, let me know. I appreciate it. I want to get the account back. Mostly just like the pinned picture is my mom, like, can I at least unpin it? Weird random guy from Turkey or whatever. But we're glad that you're here again. So we're going to talk tons of Colorado sports. We're going to talk about your Colorado Rockies, of course, on a 5-game losing streak, but still the talk of some towns, as I've heard. We got two teams who are championship or bust in the city of Denver. You got the Denver Summit setting attendance records. You have the hockey Division I champion DU Pioneers. You got, I believe, the Mammoth are in first place and a Super Bowl contending team. So, if you didn't know, Denver's pretty dope. But before we get into all the things, let's find out how you're doing. How you doing, Chris?
I'm good, man. Yeah, it's a good time to be a Denver sports fan. So a lot of good things happening. Congrats to the Pioneers for getting that done. I think it's back. Is it back-to-back championships for them in hockey? Good for them.
I'm trying to remember if they won last year, but I do know it is 11 since. So 11 is the most in Division I collegiate hockey history, national championships. Coolest part is it's 11 since the year 2000. 11 championships in 26 years. I mean, really, it's like you flip a coin, it's like championship, flip a coin. And what I think is super cool is in mid-January, the DU Pioneers lost and were down, had a home and home and sucked. And the boys said, you know what? It's not how we do it in Denver. And went on a pretty epic tear to another championship. So congrats to DU. And setting a standard, keeping it high. I know college sports, especially when CU's down in the state of Colorado, we miss some of those things. We don't have college baseball to a big degree. But with Colorado College and with DU, hockey is a legitimate college sport here. All that kind of stuff. So shout out, way to get the season started. And with that, let's roll in a little bit to one of my favorite topics, Colorado Rockies, mostly because Chris doesn't like talking about them. And rightfully so.
Okay,
let's keep it real.
Clear the air. Clear the air.
That you aren't American and hate baseball.
Correct. Thank you for doing that.
Okay.
I don't like the Monforts. The Monforts have wrecked baseball for me because they're not serious owners and have made baseball just not like I used to be
dreadful.
big into like I would get Baseball America Almanac, I'd get the Prospect Handbook, I'd get all that stuff and like study it. And
for you younger viewers, the Almanac is a book that would have a lot of information in it that we would read and reference.
Right.
Okay.
The printed word. But yeah, after they traded like Nolan Arenado, you could just tell that they were not a serious. They did not want to be a serious organization, and that sucks. So, but yeah,
you know what? Like,
I'm happy
when you have owners, when you have Chuck and Dick that own your teams, it's not exactly the most sophisticated outfit.
And they weren't.
What's super weird though is like working.
They weren't nice to the fans. So,
but what I've heard too, I've heard really good stuff is like to work for them is phenomenal. Like you want bosses like that are loyal. Like the customer comes in and is like, like Chris was rude to me the other day and he should fire him. And they'd be like, no, I'm gonna give him a raise. Like that's the Monforts. Like Jeff Bridich, like, no, man, you're the man. Like we're keeping you over Nolan Arenado, who will go down as one of the greatest baseball players to ever play. He's going to go to the Hall of Fame and he's definitely not going to wear your hat. And so that said, I think we know that professional sports is unlike any other business. It is a results-oriented business. And in the end, X's and O's are great, but Jimmy and Joe's are what make things work, and Jane's. And when you bring in Daniel Murphy for the same contract you could have given DJ LeMahieu, and you fail to recognize the contributions of Trevor Story and all those things. And meanwhile, not trade them when you know that they won't stay here after they're like all of this stuff. So, but we got to give credit where credit's due again. So Dick Monfort moves out. Walker Monfort steps in for the first time since the Monforts took over. The Rockies bring in external help and leadership. So none of the major players in any of the roles were homegrown outside of bringing back Warren Schaefer on a one-year deal as a manager, which we talked about makes sense. We're not going to go back to those things. Come to find out, just over the last 11 months, the Penners and the Monforts have been talking about a deal to be able to bring the Penners on as minority owners. And so with that, they purchased 40% of the Colorado Rockies, meaning that the Monfort ownership group owns 60. And so what I think is super interesting is the Monforts never hired anyone outside the organization until this year. We knew that when they made those hires, the Penners were involved in negotiation to buy parts of the team. I don't know if part of the deal was you got to get serious baseball people in here or we're not coming, or your valuation of your team is super low because like what product are we buying, right? Like it's pennies on the dollar when you look at that. The product isn't good. The Monforts are over the head in debt. And what I find to be interesting, and so this is the rare opportunity that the business degree comes in handy. You don't buy 40% of a bad product without an understanding that you are going to own at least at some point 51% to make the product good, because the Penners and the Walter, and remember, this is Robson Walton isn't a part of this purchase. So this is Greg and Carey. And they know what good looks like. You're not going to come and buy a bad product and watch the guys that are running that bad product continue to run the product in the ground of 40% of what you own. And so I think all of these dots were connected. They made the outside hires because they knew, or Greg Petter said, this is what you're going to do. And good old Chuck said, okay. And Dick said, all right. Don't know what that, like nothing's going to happen in the immediacy. They're trash. They got to work on a whole bunch of stuff. Broncos are good. They're going to focus there, blah, blah, blah. But my question to you is, Is this the best thing to happen to the Rockies in the last 20 years?
The best thing to happen in the last 20 years? No,
Mhm.
but this is really encouraging. But I will say one thing before we get too much further into the weeds on it. The Penners are not stupid. They know that the Rockies are still profitable, even throwing a bad product after bad product after bad product onto the field. So, and you said they got pennies on the dollar. Totally agree. So I think there's smart business people saying we can make an investment in something that's going to make us money regardless of the product on the field. While maybe, and I think the upside for fans is that maybe eventually the Penners become a majority owner of the Rockies. So, but I think in the immediate, it is a smart business move for smart business people. So, and I think that's fine. So, but as far as like the best thing to happen to the Rockies, I'd say it's probably the best thing to happen to the Rockies in the last 5 years. But like again, I still have very fond memories of Rocktober and going to the World Series. So that has happened, and that would be the best thing in my.
And maybe I was, since the 07 run.
Sure.
And though I would agree in the sense, I think that 2017-18 time, that was the best baseball I had ever seen in the state of Colorado. Blake Street Bombers, the 1995 wildcard team, the 07 World Series run, the 09 team was phenomenal. But this was the best baseball I had seen. Best top to bottom, pitching, good defense, just when you take LA to the final game and an opportunity to win the NL West for the first time ever, with Nolan and DJ, like that meant something. I think outside of
to the fans, not to the owners.
Well, I think it meant something to them. I think that they thought we made it, right? Like we got the fix. Like we can move this and go there, right? It's Ian Desmond. Loved Ian Desmond as a player. Like that move still, I'm glad it kind of worked out-ish, but what? Like that's just, you're trying to outthink yourself. Daniel Murphy, a terrible defender with gap power, takes over for a phenomenal defender with gap power.
With
like
gap
DJ
power.
Mayhew it's just, he was a younger, better
Who can
person,
actually play second base as opposed to like
he actually plays
Daniel Murphy
second
has to
base,
play first.
is a good human, and
Right.
All the things. So with that, I think I think it's within 5 years. I would be shocked if it's outside of that, even though I understand the Bronco timeline. And we'll jump off of this a little bit because I don't want to hang here, but I was on cloud 9, 10, 12. I don't even know what cloud, because it's legitimacy. And we've been asking for this for a really long time. Is just like, you want to look, it's kind of like, I have always subscribed to this, and some people don't live this way, which is super weird, but I want leaders that I aspire to be, look up to, trust to make harder decisions, whether that's politicians, business owners, etc. As you want somebody that's the best of us, right? That is a steward of, because in the end, like this last stretch of baseball has ruined baseball for me, right? Like I don't watch Major League Baseball at all, period. Like I don't. So I totally agree with you that it's made it miserable in a state where we have really good high school baseball, like professional, we got guys in the MLB that have pitched in our local schools and all that stuff. And for it to dim that much with the best ballpark in sports, in my opinion, like there's no reasons to like not be able to enjoy it. That's how bad they were, is that I hated it and I didn't go to the stadium, like all of the things. And with this, there's no way that I don't think it will be successful. To whatever degree. Do they win a World Series championship? At some point, right? Hopefully. But you know that you're going to get competent, first-class organization, which to me, like we deserve as fans, 100%, like you said, Chris. Like they haven't cared about what we've needed. It's bar tops and bobblehead nights, and so now you have an ownership group that will get out of the way, and everything is first class. I heard Adam Troutman we'll talk about the Broncos a little bit. He's on the DMVR podcast. He's like, like they spare no expense. It's the Jurassic Park theme, right? Spare no expense. Mm-hmm. If we need it to get better, we got it. No questions asked, because all they want to do is win, no matter what. And this is what this organization needed, is we want to win. We don't want to just have a good season. We don't have one marketing gem in a player like Chris Bryant. The only reason why Chris Bryant's here is that people would buy his jersey. So you have one key to be able to say, we got a generational player on the team. It wasn't to win baseball games. It was a charade. And so with that, we'll jump off our soapboxes because I got to start winning again. All this happened. They were 6-6. I was feeling myself. They've lost every game since. And so we're going to move to Ball Arena. It happens. 5-game stretches, it happens in baseball a lot, especially to the Rockies. Not new. So let's go to two franchises who are good at sports and are committed to winning for the most part, for sure. Let's start first with the Colorado Avalanche. Secured the President's Trophy. So they are the first overall seed throughout the Stanley Cup playoffs. Right now, it is a coin flip between Anaheim and the Kings in the first round. Doesn't matter to me. Throw the puck out. Avs in 5 or less. That said, there's some management still, making sure guys are healthy, all of that good stuff. Who's our goalie one versus those things. What we're going to talk about is who's the X factors. Who, and you know what? For this team, we're going to talk about like Stanley Cup run, not just first round of the playoffs, because it would be an epic failure and fire everyone if they lose in the first round. So we're going to assume what will probably happen. What are the X factors? So, for Chris, maybe even define how you looked at it, because you and I didn't talk about this first, but how we would categorize it.
Yeah.
How are you defining X factor? And then tell me a little bit about who would fit those things. And we'll get a little chatsy back and forth. If you all can, maybe throw some in the comments. Who do you think is an X factor? Who needs to play well or contribute to whatever degree? You can even add details in there. Needs to score this many goals, blah, blah. Have a little fun. For the Avs to come home and us get another Denver-based hockey parade.
Well, for me, an X factor is somebody who's kind of flying under the radar as a potential game, either wrecker or changer for a run. So that's how I define an X factor. Just to kind of give context to the season that has been, this is by points the best season that the Avalanche have ever had. So there's a lot of different ways we can go with this. A lot of the key criteria you need in order to make a deep Stanley Cup run is we have met. It's elite goaltending, depth on the forward lines, a good penalty kill, that kind of thing. So I'm going to go with Nazem Kadri, who I think is not as well. Like it's really easy to say, oh, Nathan McKinnon's got to play well. Well, or Cale Makar has got to play well. It's like, of course they do.
Right.
There are superstars that have to play well in order for us to go very far. But Nazem Kadri has given us more of that frontline depth that I was talking about. It gives us another scoring option. He helps out on special teams. It's one of those things that like he kind of bridges the gap between different line changes. So if you need, if McKinnon needs to come off, you can still be productive with Nazem Kadri on the ice. So,
I mean, when he left, the biggest conversation, how do we replace him? And they didn't. Until this year, one of the X factors that I have, because I agree with your definition, is the man that they tried to replace him with, in Brock Nelson. And I think Brock Nelson came out of the gates a little slow for all of the things, yet has had a phenomenal season, and I think is just one of those steady professionals. I think having him all season and then going into this postseason, he's the grit kind of guy. So I would second your Nazem Kadri, and I think just for the point of a show, we're just not going to both agree and then be like done. So I'm going outside the box a little bit and going for my boy Brock. But again, 39 goals, 39 assists. That's pretty good. Plus minus of 19 on the season. And so again, a winning player. And when the deal went down, you and I talked about Kadri essentially now is your third line center, which even if whatever order you put those in, you got Nate, you got Nas, and you got Brock. That's whatever order you want to put them in. That's the best trio of centers in the NHL. And you only really are going to rely on. You're not going to play your fourth line as much as you do there in the regular season because of what's at the stake or what's at stakes. Yeah, what's at the stake? That's not right. And so I'm looking forward to it. I think he is a guy that has deserved a long or a deep playoff run, and I think he's a guy that if he plays well, if he contributes, shows the grit, toughness, and is able to be a capitalizer on, especially in front, I think it's really going to help the Avs moving forward. So he is one of my X factors for the Avalanche. I'm gonna volley it back to you. All right, give me one that maybe that isn't a guy maybe that's selling a bunch of jerseys or what have you. Where's another interesting nugget that maybe we're not looking at?
I'm going to go. This may not be that deep, but like Scott Wedgwood, I think is by far has been the most consistent goalie and the elite goalie that we've been looking for. And I don't think he was the immediate thought to start the season. I think Wedgwood has been playing very well, and I think in order to make that deep Stanley Cup run, you're going to need that elite goaltending, and I think he's been the most consistent and the best goalie we've had. So, and he's playing at a really high level, which is incredible considering he's 33, and nobody saw the season coming from him. I don't believe so. I'm going to my second X factor is Wedgwood. So, which may or may not be that deep, but here we are.
Well, I think it is because I think Mackenzie Blackwood is still going to play a bunch, which, to his credit, he's still played pretty well this year, and so it's not like he's been bad, but he's played more minutes than Wedgwood has, and so they continue to try and make sure that he is available or that he is on his game, and you don't do that if you're not going to play the guy. Mine is Brent Burns. Burnsy. I'm a huge Burns guy. Just as the kids say, the aura, right? He's toothless, beard down, 1,000 games played, and has been a really dynamic offensive defenseman at 40-ish, at 40. Just a bit younger than me and quite a bit younger than Chris. And so I am super pumped about, he scored 12 goals, 22 assists from the blue line. When you have guys like that on your blue line, that's huge, as the kids say. And so I'm just super pumped about it. I think he's a guy that will be big. Now, maybe let's talk about just maybe groups. So without player, what needs to be the storyline at the end of this postseason run? At the end of this postseason, 2025, 2026, Colorado Avalanche, this team, blah. Like what needs to happen? What kind of summary, contribution, aspect of the team? What needs to be there for this team to hoist Lord Stanley's chasse or whatever?
Again, I'm going to be super uninteresting in this conversation, but again, it's the goaltending. Okay. The rotation of Blackwood and Wedgwood coming together, being able to lift each other up. Again, I think that is going to be the story. Not only did the Avalanche have one goalie, but they had two goalies that were playing at a high level, and that led them to drink from Lord Stanley's cup. So,
yeah, I like it. Yeah, you know what? It wasn't that hard, but sometimes, as Tupac said, ain't hard to find.
Right. Oukast razor. It's usually the easiest explanation is usually the right one. So
it's usually the right one. That's fair. Yep. I think it's depth. Does this team have enough depth and dynamic depth? So not just guys that will take up minutes, but guys that will contribute for the minutes they're on the ice. So normally you're not going to play a ton of your fourth line. I think this team is good and can play their fourth line. I think understanding that not every series, like this first round, they and Marty, et cetera, shouldn't be used to the same totality as like Nikola Jokic was in years past, where he's playing all but like a minute. When you're game 7, all on there, at least until, maybe Dallas or some teams like that, or the Stanley Cup series.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should be you should be able to utilize your depth and overwhelm teams because we're global, Jim. You know,
We are global,
we're
Jim.
better than you, and we know it. And I think it has to show up.
Blazer.
And what was her name? Pam or whatever.
Right.
And so I think if this team wins, we got contributions up and down the depth chart. Guys played well. Nate doesn't have the pressure of Kale, which in Game 7, or throughout that series last year with the Stars, I didn't even know if Kale was on the team, which is just crazy to say because he's going to go down as the best, if not one of the top 3 defensemen to ever play hockey. And I think he needs a redemption. And to do that, guys got to contribute so that those guys aren't pressing to have to make a play. They just play. And when that happens, good things happen. Just a question before we transition to the Nuggets. Can the Avs win with Mackenzie Blackwood with his performance through the season? I think we all recognize that Scott Wedgwood has been elite. So let's take that out, that performance. I think if he plays like that, they might not lose the game. God forbid. But Mackenzie Blackwood has been good, not great. 2.42 save or goals against average, a little bit over, so a 908 save percentage. Has 6 shutouts, 45, 22, and 5 over the season. So again, was good. If he plays that, because that to me that's the bottom threshold of where these two have been at. So if we go just for the bottom of what we expect, does this team still win the Stanley Cup?
Yes. Yes. I think we have too much depth and too much talent for anything like whether it's Wedgwood or Blackwood. I think you have a really good shot at being a Stanley Cup champion. So the answer is yes.
Love it. All right, let us know what you think in the chat. Chris thinks, as long as you got wood, doesn't matter what kind of wood, you're winning.
You're good.
And so with that, you're good in the hood with some wood. Please go follow us on the socials, particularly if you can, if you're watching this on YouTube, or follow us on Facebook, Orange and Blue Network, wherever Denver sports is. We have a podcast that will talk about it probably. And we have good stuff all over. So how do you get through the day? I don't know about you again, but I have kids. I don't know if we've all heard that. We've been chatting for some time. 4 kiddos. Chris has to. We're tired.
All the time.
Get some dubby. All the time. Again, all the stuff you need, caffeine, etc., amino acids, B vitamins, all the good fun things. But without the crash or all of the weird things that are in it, no fillers, no calories, no chemicals that you can't pronounce. If you use our promo code OBN10, you can get 10% off at your checkout. Again, OBN10, Orange and Blue Network 10% off, or Bonix 10 is the number 10. Aforementioned roster, we got depth. Okay, we have Colorado Avalanche depth on the network within the podcast, whether that's Bronco Bros on Monday night, all the way to Viva Los Broncos. In my estimation, definitely the only local Spanish-speaking Broncos podcast. If it's not the only, it's definitely the best. That's for sure. But again, we have stuff throughout the week from pre and post games covering the Broncos or just throughout. And so give yourself, treat yourself a little bit. Self-care is important. Tune in to all of our friends around here. And with that, we will pop back in for our next level of our conversation. The Denver Nuggets securing the 3rd seed with a dramatic victory over San Antonio. Okay, that isn't the why. But going to the playoffs, match up against the Minnesota Timberwolves, who famously was the deliverer of the biggest comeback or second half blown lead in a Game 7 in the history of the National Basketball Association to our Denver Nuggets in yesteryear. So closing out not only the opportunity to repeat as champions, but embarrassing the Nuggets on their home floor. Nuggets get revenge. Guys are getting healthy And this team is riding a 12-game winning streak, regardless of the circumstances. Winning 12 games in a row is hard.
Yeah.
Guys are getting paid. This is the most elite players to play, or the ones that you're going against, even on teams that aren't very good. And so here we are. Here we are in the season. So we're going to talk a little bit about X factors again. We're going to talk about some individuals, and then what's the aspect of the Nuggets that has to show up and show out. And I'm going to do this just for the series because this isn't a slam dunk. It's not in the home. We're going to talk about the next series again too. And we're going to do this again. You can, if you want, project it to the entire series, which I bet will be the same anyway. But giving us a little leeway. Can't be just the series. Can be in totality. Chris, who is your number one X factor for the Denver Nuggets?
Well, again, I'm going to start off uninteresting, but like the guy who has led us on this 12-game winning streak by coming back from injury, it is your Mr. Nugget. It is my Mr. Nugget, Aaron Gordon. So the man plays both ways. I mean, it's so interesting that he has become this glue guy that has allowed other people to be the best version of themselves. So, Jokic, I don't believe is Jokic without Aaron Gordon. Jamal Murray, I don't think makes a leap without Aaron Gordon, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Like, he just does all the little things that you need to do to win. Like, if you need a rebound, he'll get a rebound. If he needs, to shoot threes and score, he can do that. He's our best defender. So, it's Aaron Gordon for me. I think he's the reason that we have gone on this 12-game winning streak. His coming back and providing that veteran leadership has been amazing. So give me Aaron Gordon all day, every day. And again, if you had told me this like 10 years ago when he was drafted out of Arizona by the Magic, I would have called you a crazy person, an absolute ungodly crazy person. But here we are.
Yeah, and fair. Yes, he was that. So reminding everyone, so I think he was the number 4 overall pick in 2014-2015 season out of the aforementioned Arizona at the age of 19. Didn't play a ton, got hurt. But his second season, playing 23 minutes a game, became a solid contributor and a guy that you could see talent, right? Is obviously famous for the battle back and forth with Zach LaVine in the slam dunk contest. And so recognizing that this guy, Aaron Gordon, was the man in Orlando, not just a dude. He was the focal point of the offense, of the team, all of those things. However, he never averaged over 17.6 points in a season. Maybe that's being part of a bad team. Maybe it's not. But 3-point shooting percentage, not great. Free throw percentage should have been significantly better. Comes to the Nuggets mid-season, right, where he has been the dude, to a team where he is not only not the first option, not the second option, arguably not the third option, maybe he's the fourth option. But to see him embrace that role from jump, I think made him my favorite Nugget on the spot, because he didn't have to. And in the era of divas and I want to get what's mine, Aaron Gordon is the exact opposite. Leaving money on the table to go contribute, where you're not an all NBA scorer or things like that, I think has been phenomenal. On top of that, I think we all know, lost his brother and has found a way to continue to honor that legacy and play really well. If you've ever lost anyone really close to you, which I assume most of us have, to then go out and put yourself on the line in front of thousands of people to critique your performance when you're struggling, I think, again, goes to show how much he cares about this team. But the thing that I think is the coolest is he has worked hard still. He went from a guy in 2023, 2024 that shot, I'm going to say this out loud, 29% from three. Again, I'll say it one more time. 29% from three, which is terrible. He builds himself a basketball gym in his house and works on his three-point game to the fact now he is not only a competent three-point shooter, but is shooting almost 39% from three, which is a little bit down from last year's 43%. So the guy that does it all, couldn't agree more, I think nailed it. My X factor one, it would be Jamal Murray. I think if Jamal goes, the Nuggets go. But we're going to move that out. Aaron Gordon out, Nikola Jokic out. I think that those are all must-haves. I think if Tim Hardaway Jr. continues to fill up the stat sheet, shoot unconscious and unforgiving, I think the Nuggets, if we look at this and he's averaging 12 to 15 points a game in each series, just again, the wear and tear that the starters have had to have over the last few years because there isn't quality depth behind them to make these runs. I think we saw it zap the Timberwolves. They just didn't have it left. And when you got a guy that will come out, knows his role, is a professional, and is going to knock down big shots, giving your starters an opportunity to catch their breath and to maintain at least distance with the other team until Jokic, the non-Jokic minutes. But I think that he is my X factor. Do you have another player as an X factor? Do you want to switch to just kind of our take on aspects of the team being an X factor?
I got one more for you. So
hit me.
Christian Braun, I think, is an X factor, and I think he's kind of unlikely because he's had kind of an up and down season where he's been hurt and hasn't played as well as he did last year. However, over the last 8 games, I think he's averaged 16 points, 4.9 rebounds, a steal, and he's shooting 40% from 3. Christian Braun, I think, is a winner. He has won at every single level he's played at. Kansas high school championships at KU, and with the Nuggets. So that guy, I think, can be a third scorer if Jamal Murray is struggling, or an X factor because I think he plays really good defense, kind of in the same vein as Aaron Gordon, where he can play on both sides of the ball. And I don't think people expect him to play well because he hasn't played well in stretches this season.
I dig it. I think that's a good one. I think Christian Braun, when he plays with offensive confidence, like it's just a different level of that because he brings defensive tenacity. Mine's gonna be P-Watt.
Yep.
We saw the emergence of that young man, and he gives you something again that this team doesn't have a ton of, is just the God-given length and bounce to be a contributor on nights that you don't score. And so to me, I think that he's a guy, especially because he hasn't been healthy, that if he comes back and is averaging-ish what he had put up, so a little bit over 14.6 points a game, 41% efficiency from 3. And a guy that hits 73+% of his free throws, almost 5 rebounds a game, 2 assists, a block, and a steal, which is pretty good. I don't know about you, that's pretty good. But I think if he is playing at his not even optimal, if he plays good, I think what he provides as a defender, as energy, length, attacking the basket is, I don't see a world where if he's playing well, Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray aren't. I don't think that would be the case. So I think that he's a guy that if he plays well, I think the Nuggets are holding up the Larry O'Brien. So with that, what aspect would you, what would we hang our hat on at the end of this playoff run to say, yeah, that's why they won the chip?
Well, for me, they can't be, and we've been pounding this drum since February. They can't be terrible on defense. They just can't. So again, be mediocre on defense. Like, don't be just an absolute ungodly train wreck where you're not only turning the ball over, but you're also playing bad defense. Like, play mediocre defense, and you'll go pretty far in this playoff. So
yeah, I like it. I think with that, it's I don't even know if you have to out-coach everybody, but Adelman can't be the reason why you lose games. There can't be lapses like the other night where I think was it Brucey that got hurt, or was it Tim Hardaway? Yeah, and you don't know that if you pull him off of the court that he can't come back in. Like that stuff can't happen. And I get it, first time head coach. There's a lot of newer staff that are on, but some of that stuff is like you can't go to sleep at the wheel and expect to win because other teams are really, really good. And the last thing you want is, as a coach, even to be the reason why your team didn't win because you weren't prepared and engaged and knowing what needs to happen. So I think this coaching staff has to be able to come up with the best game plans as possible and in-game adjustments. And if they're even-ish with the other team, I think the Nuggets are going to win. I think that this is the most talented Nuggets team that I can remember, top to bottom, even more talented than the championship run, in my opinion. And so, Adam, and don't get in the way, bro. Don't get in the way. Any other X factors that you got or thoughts on that, Chris, before we talk some draft?
No, I think Minnesota is kind of an eerily mirror version of us. They're good offensively, but they don't seem very locked in on defense. So they've really struggled on that end of the court, even though they have Rudy Gobert as kind of that defensive spine. I still think it's a really good matchup for the Nuggets, and I expect us to, probably win in, I would say 5. So call it 5.
I was gonna ask you what your thought is. I also think it's gonna be a gentleman's sweep. I think Minnesota's tough. Anthony Edwards is such a good player, but the team that beat the Nuggets isn't as good as it was then.
Right.
And the Nuggets are better than the team.
They're not as good as they were.
And the Nuggets, I think, threw away 2 or 3 different opportunities to win that series.
Yep.
Not just the Game 7 collapse in totality, but there were times where they could have closed stuff out earlier. Game 6 for sure.
Yep.
And so I agree. I think Nuggets in 6. And so with that, we're just gonna. Plus, I don't know if everyone knows, I'm rocking my championship Nugget shirt because that shit was dope. Yeah, go Aggies, baby. All right. So former Broncos and fan favorite cornerback Aqib. Don't shoot myself in the leg. Talib.
Rock, Chalk, Jayhawk, too.
That's true. Dude, how good was that secondary? You got Chris Harris Jr.
I know, right?
Aqib Talib. Like, how did they lose? Because your quarterback threw like Tim Tebow. But that's not true. He was super good. But on the arena gridiron with Kinsley Lewalski and Skip Bayless and Bronco great TJ Ward said, "Hey Kinsey, I keep waiting." Or no, this is Skip Bayless. Keep waiting for the bombshell to drop because the guy sitting across from me, meaning Talib, over here keeps saying Denver's going to make another big move. Talib responded with, "It might be at the draft. Come on, Skip. Come on. You don't believe? You still don't believe me? It might be on draft day." So the reason why I think this is important is, and maybe this is connecting dots that aren't there because it's more fun that way, for sure. Could be that. Or it could be real. Maybe Aqib Talib knows what he's talking about because before the Broncos made the greatest move of this offseason, trade for Jalen Waddle, Aqib said something similar. Hey, they're going to go get a bona fide playmaker, and you just watch out. And they did. So first, actually, we're not even talking about whether or not it's true because we won't know until it happens. Who do you think that could be? What do you think? Or not who? What do you think the move would be with no first round pick, no third round pick? What do you think that move would even entail if you were to speculate, which is what we're going to do?
Well, I mean, yeah, there's nothing more fun than recklessly speculating about potential team moves.
For sources.
Yeah, I mean, right. For the internet, which I just Googled. I don't know. I think you guys don't have a whole lot of draft capital this year, so it may be a 2027, second round, third round pick to go get maybe another playmaker. I think we chatted about Kyle Pitts, which is interesting. I've also heard that maybe Pat Freiermuth may be on the move. So kind of 2 tight ends that maybe to be on the look for, because they seem to just be out on Evan Ingram. Like, I know they signed him last year.
Yeah.
I can't imagine that they cut him, but it seems like there's a ton of smoke about him not making it to June 1st. So, which I think is interesting. So
it is interesting is a nice way to put it. I think it's weird that you bring a guy in to do some things. You don't really utilize him in the way they were gonna, and then you're like, we're out on him. Unless they found out something that we don't know, which could happen, right? Like, I mean, locker room fit, I don't know, yada, yada, which I did not hear. So that's not speculation. It's just inquisitive, structured inquisition, if you will. I think, what do I think it's going to be? I think it will most likely be a move up because you have the 2/4. I think at minimum they're going to move into the third with those 2/4 and then try to move back into the fourth with their back end picks. I think they can do that, but I'm going to play the game because I think it's more fun, and it is a very strong possibility that they make another move utilizing current draft capital for a proven player instead of for or for next year. They're in a win now mode. That's why you go get Jalen Waddle. Because if you were in a win later mode, you would draft a guy. Maybe Jalen Waddle's still pretty young, so maybe you would do it anyway. But giving up that draft capital, I think, goes to show where this team thinks they're at. I really like the Pat Freiermuth because I think that is the player that this team doesn't have, is the well-rounded, can do both. Get you a tight end that can do both, and I think he's that. I thought maybe it's a running back, but I don't know what move that they can make at this junction that would improve that room necessarily, that would qualify to as a big move. Yeah. So I really like that. I think that that's absolutely a place to be able to look at. Additionally, I wouldn't be shocked if maybe it's a defensive lineman. Could be a guy like maybe Dexter Lawrence, who just requested a trade, who is arguably one of the top 3 defensive tackles in the league, estimation. But now I think he's the 15th highest paid inside defensive lineman. So not edge, just the inside folks, which, guys want money. And so maybe that's the driving force. Maybe this will show. But I could absolutely see the Broncos saying, you know what, we'll give you the second and, your mom for a proven player that would really solidify what's going on. So I think that could be that.
Yeah, I think Dexter Lawrence. I think Dexter Lawrence is an interesting name. As a Cowboys fan, I've watched him quite a bit. Unfortunately, wreck our offensive line, which so I'd be very much okay with him getting out of the division. It would be interesting to me to see because I think the Giant, at least the drums around the Giants, are that they're looking for a first round pick. So if you're in that vein, I'm not sure that 62 and like a fourth gets it done. So that's the only hard part, is the fact that you again, rightfully so, you made the move for Jalen Waddle. So it may be next year's draft capital that you're going to have to move in order to get a player like that. So I really like Dexter Lawrence. Okay. Freiermuth, I think, will be a little bit more affordable. You may be able to get him for a fourth round pick, or for a fourth and a 5 or whatever. Yeah. So.
Yeah, and I agree. I actually, you know what? Let's start that train. The Pat Freiermuth, welcome to Denver train. It's all aboard. I love his game. Love what he provides over there. Who knows what the Steelers are doing right now with the weird Aaron Rodgers dance of like all the stuff. Talk about like a team in limbo. Like, dear goodness gracious.
Let me ask you this question. Would you rather trade for like Pat Freiermuth, or would you rather like try and sign David Njoku? Because he's still unsigned as of right now. So are we –
that's good.
Should we just like wait until after the draft and say, okay, we didn't get a tight end, so let's go sign David Njoku because we didn't satisfy that need, or we didn't get a defensive lineman, so now we can go trade for Dexter Lawrence or something like that, or sign like a Cam Gordon. So,
I mean, I'm a Calais Campbell. Bring him home. He's been stellar. He's a big guy, plays up front. I think Calais Campbell. I thought he went to LSU. Maybe you're right. You're probably right. Anyway, well, appreciate whatever team he played for wasn't good anyway. So, whatever. But the only reason why I think this would be prior is the word on the streets is this draft is light on talent, less impact, especially at the top. So maybe the Broncos are recognizing, like, you know what, this is the best window we have to keep this current team and add pieces before next year we're going to lose them anyway. And if the draft next year is that much stronger, maybe you don't want to dip into next year's capital because of of maybe the cupboards being bare. I would be a fan of saving your draft picks, drafting guy, and go sign a free agent. I also think maybe they're playing a little bit of chicken and waiting until signees don't impact the compensatory formula, which might be a lot. So yeah, I would expect that they have to add another potential dynamic player to that room, because there's a bunch of tight end 2s and 3s. Even projected, there's not that's going to be our guy on this team. So like you said, Evan Ingram, the end of his deal is this year. Nate Atkins is a nice player. He's not a dynamic tight end. Kroll is somewhere in the middle, but again,
they're just kind of guys like Atkins and Kroll are like or developmental guys.
Yep, and Troutman, those are good professionals. They're good players, but those aren't guys that make defensive coordinators concerned. So transition a little bit. We had an offline activity before we transition to that. I will let Chris say what he's going to say.
So I did send you, I do want to have a discussion about, because I sent you a couple clips offline. One where Bobby Belt on 105.3 The Fan, which is a Dallas network. He's a national insider for kind of Dallas, like think Benjamin Albright, but he lives in Dallas. So he works for the Cowboys and that kind of thing. He said that he was hearing rumors that Riley Moss was on the move. So how do we feel about that? That was my question. So before
that's good.
Move along.
Yeah, because I think the link that you and I talked about is to the Cowboys. If you're looking at what makes business sense, right? It's like a guy that you probably aren't going to re-up because you can't pay everybody. I think McMillan has shown strong capability of playing inside. You have Jahdae Barron, first round pick, all that stuff. I think that makes a ton of sense. I struggle with I think this team is at a place where they want to keep everything and add, which is why you re-sign 94% of your roster coming back, which in the NFL is just a crazy number because that doesn't happen. It's usually a third turns over every year, and for it to be less than 10% is pretty crazy. I wouldn't be shocked, though. I wouldn't be shocked. Maybe you package Riley in that second and you're able to move into the first and get you Kendrick, a Sadiq or maybe one of that. That would be the only tight end I think that would be willing to go there. Maybe is there an impactful defender? Not sure, but I wouldn't say no. I don't know if it would be during the draft or maybe depending on who they draft, but I do think that he is probably available for the right price, but I bet that price is high.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. It was like if Riley Moss goes, who replaces him? Like on the roster right now, who's your fourth corner? Because obviously it's Surtain, McMillan, and Barron. But like who's number 4?
It's interesting because last year outside, it was Chris Abrams-Drain, and so he was the outside corner, and Jahdae was still, you're kind of package dependent, kind of playing that big nickel. When he was outside, he did look pretty good, but I think when you put that much of an investment into a player, first round pick at corner, you're doing it because you think he can be really good wherever we're going to put him at, not that you're getting a gimmicky, tight end guy. So that would be the natural one. I think that would leverage. I think if a corner maybe fell to them in the draft, that should have went in the first round, that falls in the second, could you draft a young guy, move Riley? I do think that that's possible. It'd be sad. I think Riley is a fan fave, but you got to do what you got to do, and sometimes what you got to do doesn't make you feel good. So
draft is pretty deep grouping cornerback. So
100%. Yep,
Devin
especially
Moyes,
if you're looking at
Mario Davis, that kind of thing. So
yep, yeah, and I think you can't be scared because if you're scared, go to church. So with that, let's we're going to angle a little bit. We had this volley back and forth about who are 5 players that you really like that won't be in the top 10, top 15 players. So why don't you give us your first one and why you like him?
Sure. Sorry, I got to pull it up because I forgot what I said. Honestly, I'll go Keontae Scott since I've been banging the drum for that guy since like October. I've been harassing you guys about you got to watch Keontae Scott. You got to watch Keontae Scott. And admittedly, I'm a Miami Hurricanes fan because Kansas is bad at football. So I had to do something, on Saturdays. So I picked up the Hurricanes. Keontae Scott, I think he is just a football player. He's going to make your defense better. He makes plays. Whenever we needed a big stop on defense, it was Keontae Scott that we looked to. He's a little bit of an older prospect, but he tackles well. He has a nose for the football. I think he's a second, third round player that I think just you figure out what you want to do with him, and he's going to make your team better. So just go there. So that's my first one.
Yeah, and I'm gonna give two down. We'll do a little snake action. My first one is Omar Cooper Jr. I think the Broncos are probably out on a receiver. Maybe Marvin Mims is that trade that you make or something like that with the logjam. Franklin maybe with bringing in, so you bring another dynamic player if he were to fall. I just like him. Omar Cooper Jr. in my opinion, he plays like a professional. Really clean route runner, good body size and body control. Fast, not a blazer, but a guy that doesn't get caught much. And he competes in the run game. He's not an overwhelming presence, but a guy that brings his lunch pail, as our parents would say back then. Another guy that I like that likely won't be in the top 15 is interior offensive lineman Connor Lew from Auburn. Tore his ACL, so I think he's going to be a guy that probably slides, as he likely will not be available for the first part of the season, which plays to the Broncos' favor because of the amount of day 3 picks that they got. And maybe that's a guy that falls athletically prior to the injury, was deemed a really good athlete, especially at the pivot. Wattenberg's extension only has him. You can get out from it in another year if you want to be able to groom a replacement. Forsyth's rookie contract will be up here in another season. And so not that the Broncos, it makes sense, but I think he's a guy that really is a good pivot, and having a solid center in front of your soon to be at some point like $60 million quarterback is usually a good idea. So volley back to you. Chris, sure. Who are a couple of guys on your listies?
So I'll give you two linebackers that I think Bronco fans should be aware of, especially at 62. Jacob Rodriguez and Josiah Trotter. Jacob Rodriguez, I think, should be a first-round linebacker. I think his, again, instincts are great when he's going forward. I think he hits with authority. I think his nose is for the ball. I think he's got the instincts. He makes plays. And again, transitioning to Josiah Trotter, who out of Missouri, same thing. You will not fool him. He's got the bloodlines. These are the kind of linebackers that I really like. The Carson Schwessingers, which are instinctual hitters that may or may not be great going backwards. So I don't need them to, be cover guys. But again, somebody will bring a physical presence to your defense and make your defense better. So Josiah Trotter and Jacob Rodriguez, Texas Tech. So keep an eye.
I love it. And Jeremiah Trotter. I like Trotter. Doesn't play backwards real well yet, but remembering, as we're going to talk about it then, he's super young. I think he's still 20, or maybe has just turned 21. So if a guy has some measurables and is a adept at going forward, covering NFL tight ends is hard. Most teams don't do it well anyway. So just recognize, what are you expecting? Vance Joseph doesn't ask a lot of his inside linebackers in terms of coverage. So having a guy that will knock people out is, I've heard him be. So with that,
Josiah Trotter just turned 21.
Josiah Trotter.
Yeah, just turned 21.
Literally was, on mom's, he's a baby. He's a baby. Yep. All right. I like myself some Emmanuel McNeil-Warren.
Okay.
Saw some projections about him going in the first round. I think second round is probably most likely. Similar to Nick Emenwari. Emenwari is a better athlete, but 9.96 RAS score is a lot. It's pretty good, and has been a guy that can come down in the box, can play backwards, can play No, I'm sorry. I looked at the wrong RAS score. That's for the next guy. The other guy. So he has 5 interceptions, 10 forced fumbles over his career. So a guy that makes some significant impact according to PFF. His zone coverage, which I've heard is helpful, was like a 92. And he's a guy that I think that has the intelligence. Ran a 4.5 40 at 6'4" and some change, or 6'4", 200 plus 210. And so I think a really good player that, as you plan for Brandon Jones' exit, probably he might be a guy. And with that, I went to another safety,
Toledo,
USC.
right? Toledo?
Yep.
Okay.
Toledo. Yep. Sorry if I missed that part. Kamari Ramsey, safety from USC. 6 foot 205. A little bit more of a guy that flows, reads and reacts, like you said. I like his intelligence. But one of the things that I liked the most, not only was his ability to play the ball, but was defined as by his coaches a glue guy, high football IQ, and so he is allowed to or can come down in the box, can play in the two high look, etc. And so I think he's a guy that would be a good Denver Bronco and allow yourself to be able to move off of, which I'm not recommending, but I'm understanding how the business goes. Not re-signing Brandon Jones and trying to use that money elsewhere. So there's that. And you know what? I'm going to take up my other one. I'll let you finish strong. Dennis Sutton. So edge player, Penn State. I think he's a guy that could add maybe 10 more pounds to 280, 285 maybe. His RAS was at 9.96, so he gets lost with Bill Carter, things like that over at Penn State. But I think he's just a consistent winner. He continues to get pressure. He's not the guy with like the elite bend, but he's the guy that will get there and does so in a variety of ways. I think has a good set of moves and is a guy that plays a ton of snaps, doesn't miss games, and shows effort, which when you play at a big program, Penn State was a little bit down this year. They ran, they ran some teams off the road, and he played anyway. Like he's just a guy that likes to be out there, and a guy I think that could play inside for the Broncos in that 3-4 front. But if he played on the edge, he'd be, he could be a guy that is your run defending edge, similar to DeAndre Tillman and what he brings right now for the Denver Broncos. So that's my listies. Why don't you close us out with your thoughts, Chris?
All right. So last two for me. First one, and I've talked about him before, Malachi Lawrence. I was really late to his evaluation, but when I did, I fell in love. This guy converts speed to power.
Nice.
Really good pass rusher. Probably more of a 4-3 edge than a 3-4 down lineman. So depending on how you use your edge players, may or may not be a fit for the Broncos. But again, really ascending player that has a plan when he rushes the passer, which is the key for me. That he not only has a first move, but he's got a counter move once the offensive lineman says, "Okay, you're not going to do that. We're going to do this." So yeah, I think he's really good and should be a first round pick. Second guy, or the last guy that I'm going to mention, is Mike Washington Jr., Arkansas running back. Malachi Lawrence, UCF edge, for what it's worth. Mike Washington, running back, Arkansas, 6'1", 223, and runs a 4.3 40. So big, strong, fast running back. Had some problems with some fumbles, but again, super explosive. Kind of a guy that I think you're going to find in the 4th round, and I think can be a value for you. I think he's still got some more development to get to. I really liked his receiving game. Against Ole Miss, I think he was running wheel routes and out routes and that kind of thing, and I think that was really promising from him. Again, the fumbles and probably not a great pass pro, so he's going to have to develop a little bit in those areas. But again, I think in the 4th round, you could do a lot worse than a speed freak. So
I like it. All right. So what was your favorite part of the show, Chris? What do you want the listeners and the viewers to take away from our session today, if they were to take away something?
I really liked when you said hello to me. We're friends. I like talking to you every week. Take that away. So
I love it, and I love you. You're great. Shout out to to the chat. Jay, thanks for reposting. Bridget, appreciate you reposting all that stuff.
Shout out to JT, who's sick today. Hope you feel better, brother.
Yeah, the flu. That shit sucks. I've heard.
It's real. I had it 2 weeks ago. It's real.
Significant. It is real for sure. But we are going to sign out. Thanks for joining us, Mile High Sports Symposium. Again, one more shout out for my co-host Chris. I'm Dr. Nicholas Manning. We will see you same time, same channel next week. If you need a script.
From football to hockey, we're taking it higher. Join the celebration, feel that sports desire. So grab your crew, let's hit the show. My High Sports Symposium, let the good times flow.